Hey, Josh Tigg, Running T Farms. First off, I'd like to say thanks for inviting me to sit in on this producer panel. I'll tell you a little bit about our farm. We are a regenerative grazing operation, direct marketing 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. My wife Brandy and our two twin sons, Will and Wes, are who make up Running T Farms. A little history about our farm. Our original farmland has been in Brandy's family since 1753. Used for just about every kind of agriculture you can imagine since then to now. In the 1950s and 60s, it was a small dairy operation. In the 70s, the dairy and livestock were sold off, replaced with a row crop operation that was eventually leased out to larger row crop producers. In 2010, we started taking back some of the leased land, producing and selling some hay, purchased some bottle calves in 2014 and some Angus cross Holstein heifers. Continued expanding our beef herd by purchasing heifers and bred heifers. 2016, we leased an adjoining farm. 2017, we purchased a piece of property that adjoined us that had been in row crop production for 40 plus years, and we were in the cattle business. So we were new to agriculture, livestock production. Our families had been involved in agriculture, but us ourselves had kind of skipped a generation with us, so we were new. We followed conventional production guidelines, rotational and strip grazing early on, very minimal 2 to 3 week cattle moves. We soil sampled, we applied fertilizer and lime, sprayed for weeds. We supplemented our cattle during the breeding season, used IGR minerals for fly control, started feeding hay early in the winter and fed hay, a lot of hay, till spring of the year when we could grow enough grass for our cattle to start grazing, and we sold weaned and background calves. So it didn't take too long to figure out that not only were we not making any money, but we were actually going in the hole. We were losing money. So you start thinking about what are we going to do? You know, you can't keep going the way we're going. And in 2017, we attended the Forage and Grasslands annual meeting at the North Carolina Cattlemen's Conference and listened to Alex Miller speak about some of the things he was doing on his farm in Tennessee, reducing and eliminating inputs through management. And he recommended 2 books, How to Not Go Broke Ranching, Things I Learned the Hard Way in 50 Years of Ranching by Walt Davis, and a Soil Owner's Manual, How to Restore and Maintain Soil Health by John Sticka. So immediately when I got home, I ordered those books and I read them, and when you read them, it was kind of an aha moment for us. Here were some people talking about a different way of doing things, and it made sense to us. So we started researching alternative methods and discovered there were a whole lot of profitable producers out there who were reducing and eliminating inputs through management. And some of the things that they all had in common, they were all using some form of holistic management or systems thinking. They had all implemented some form of a regenerative grazing, whether it was MIG grazing, AMP grazing, high stock density grazing, mob grazing. They were all doing things a lot different as far as their grazing was concerned versus your conventional cattlemen. They were also stacking enterprises on their farms, and they were direct marketing their products, whether it was genetics or grass-fed beef, lamb, poultry, pork. They were being price makers and not price takers. Some of my reading, I've read Don Campbell, who was a holistic rancher in Canada, I believe. He said, if you want to make small changes, change the way you do things. If you want to make major changes, change the way you see things. I thought that was a pretty profound quote. So that's what we're trying to do, is change the way we see things. A lot of these guys out there, I think, that are doing this successfully have found a better way, and that's what we're trying to do, is to find a better way forward for ourselves. So some of the changes we've made: we began implementing planned high stock density grazing. We partnered with NRCS to install stock watering facilities around our farm and exclude our livestock from our streams. We subdivided our pastures with some permanent fencing that we further subdivide with polywire and step-in posts, but it sure makes it a little easier if you've got some permanent subdivision fences to work from. We stopped spreading fertilizer and spraying weeds, and we use the animals to manage and fertilize our grazing land. We move the animals anywhere from 1 to 8 times a day, depending on the conditions, the type of impact that we're trying to put on the ground, the weather, the temperature. We try to stay pretty flexible. Got a little short video I shot here back in, I believe this was June of, we were grazing at 500,000 pounds of stock density. I think I'd moved the cows 7 times this day. So this was what we would like to see post-grazing. Hey, Josh T, Growing T Farms. Just moving the cows the last time this evening. Just thought I'd get a shot of the manure distribution and the trampling that we got on this ground here. We have been grazing at about 500,000 pounds of stock density to the acre. This grass in here was all chest high on me, 4 foot tall, close to it when we moved in here. As you can see, they've trampled or eaten all this down to the ground. Just manure everywhere you look, which is what we're after, and that's just what you can see. There's also going to be a lot of urine where they've urinated in here. So I did give them a little bit bigger area. This is the last move of the night, so they're in there on probably 1/4 of an acre, and they will have access to back graze on this a little till in the morning, but they won't do a lot of back grazing on it because they've fouled it with manure and urine. So just wanted to get a shot of what 500,000 pounds stock density can do to mature fescue. So we've got our cows fed, we've got our fertilized, spread via urine and manure from the animals, and we've got the excess forage trampled down on the ground. So that's what we're after. So obviously I don't move cows 6 or 7 times a day every day. We generally always move them at least twice a day. But grazing like that is what has allowed us to grow a tremendous amount of forage without applying any fertilizer or herbicides to our pastures. Grazing like that, we're also seeing a huge increase in plant diversity in our perennial pastures. Here's a video of those same group of cows. I think it's about 3 weeks later on another farm. This particular field here, we hadn't grazed in close to a year. And you can just see a tremendous amount of diversity and forage in this paddock. Hey, Josh T, Growing T Farms. Just moving the cattle this morning into a fresh paddock here. Just thought I'd get a shot of what these cattle are grazing. This is a paddock that we have deferred grazing on for a year. It's hard to even walk through this to set the temporary fence up. The grass is about waist high. Just got a tremendous amount of variety in here. Eastern gamma grass, fescue, lots of annual warm season grass. There's some Dallas grass, clovers, tremendous amount of forbs, and as you can see, that cow there is eating some kind of forb. But we are grazing this at about probably 150 to 200,000 pounds of stock density, which is what we've been grazing. There's a cow going after some of those good forbs. A lot of people would see that and think they was weeds and want to get in here and spray them. But we found that the cattle eat a lot of those weeds. They have a different root profile, and they mine up different minerals and that the cows need, and they know that, so they'll go after those forbs and grasses that they need. So seeing an increase in plant diversity, we've also seen a return to our soil life. A lot of insects, dung beetles that you can see here in this little video clip, in this manure pat. Also got a tremendous amount of earthworms, and with the increase in these dung beetles, we see a whole lot less fly pressure than we used to. We do graze some annuals. Also, we do market 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef, so it always helps to have some annuals in the mix. This is some raised crazy mix we were grazing back in August of 2019. It says there on the picture. We grazed ryegrass on this same acreage, so this acreage would have been in ryegrass in the spring, and then we came and drilled some raised crazy mix into it. We always like to keep the diversity up. We've also found that sorghum Sudan sorghum makes some pretty good winter stockpile. You have to get the cattle off of it after a frost, so you can till the prussic acid concerns are gone, but make some really high quality feed for 30 to 60 days into winter. We are reducing our hay production and hay feeding by better management, maximizing our perennial pastures for winter stockpile. Here's a video I shot just a couple weeks ago. We were grazing some stockpile fescue, and I was pretty amazed at the amount and quality of forage we were able to stockpile. Hey, Josh Tigg, Running T Farms. Just moving cattle this morning. I was walking here setting up a paddock move for this evening, and I was walking through this stockpile fescue that we have here, and I was just kind of amazed at how much grass we were able to stockpile this fall. So we did have favorable rain this fall, which always helps out, but just gonna get a little shot here. So this grazing stick, it's marked off to 2 feet, but the actual stick itself is 3 feet tall. So we've got about 4 inches of grass there if I stand this grass up, that's taller than that grazing stick. So we're grazing anywhere between 36 and 40 inches of stockpile fescue here. And we've grown this stockpile without the use of any fertilizer. We stopped using chemical fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides about 4 years ago, and started managing our grass with the way we graze our cattle. We just feel like it's a much better way to raise cattle, healthier way. We don't spray for weeds, we don't spray Roundup, we don't spray or fertilize anything. We do all this through the management of our cattle. We haven't spread any manure, no poultry litter, no dairy slurry. All of this grass that's grown here is grown through the management and the way we graze these cattle, with no added fertility except for when we do feed hay, because there is fertility in hay. We try to unroll the hay so that we spread some fertility that way. But I just thought it was pretty amazing here. We've got 40 inches of grass that's grown without any fertilizer other than the way we manage our cows. So that's just about as natural a process we think is that you can do, and that's why we're producing some of the highest quality, cleanest beef that you can buy. So I think that area there was last grazed in July, and it had been grazed 4 times during the growing season up until late July. when we started stockpiling that for winter feed. So grazing diverse forage like this kind of rolls us around into the next part of our farm, is our grass-fed direct marketed beef. And here's a picture of a couple of our ribeyes salted up and ready for the grill. We do have a website, runningtbeef.com. That's where we have our online market. You can go on there, place an order for some of our 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and we'll ship it right to your door. And I do encourage all of y'all, as soon as this conference is over, to check our website out and go ahead and place your order for some of our great 100% grass-fed, grass-finished beef. So here's some resources. If any of you are maybe thinking about changing the way you see things, here's some books and some people on YouTube you can check out. One of the top of the list on both lists, in my opinion, would be Man, Cattle, and Veiled by Johann Zeitzman. You can also check out Johann Zeitzman on YouTube. Greg Judy is fantastic. Gabe Brown, Bert Teichert. All of these people can help you change the way you see things. So once again, thanks for inviting me to sit in at this conference on this producer panel.